It's important to make sure that every lead comes in, not only gets sent an email and a text, but also gets called as well. And again, most people won't answer. And to tell you the truth, that's not that bad of a thing, because as long as you have an auto dialer set up, then it doesn't take the employee that long to to call the list, right? Especially if you're just starting, you only have a couple hundred calls to make. A person using an auto dialer can make 300 calls in a day, because the fact is 250 of them aren't going to answer. And especially if you have a system where you can drop the automated, voicemails. When somebody doesn't answer, you can press a button, it drops the voicemail and moves right on to the next call. You can call 300 people in a day, dropping messages to most of them. And then, maybe 50 people answer. A lot of them are going to just kind of hang up and say, no, not interested. And that's just how it is. And you just have to, go ahead and get through that. But the point here is that, especially if you're using an auto dialer, you can get through 300 calls in a day. So think about right now in your head, how many how many leads are you getting per day? And then, a virtual assistant, a good one to make good phone calls that speaks clear English, is probably about $8 an hour. And so if you only have 300 leads, in a day, then you're talking about just a full days of work for an an $8 an hour person. Now, if you only have 10, 20, 30 leads a day, you're talking about a tiny, tiny amount of money. You're talking about paying somebody for an hour or less. So you're talking about paying $8, $5 a day, whatever it is, to have somebody call all of your leads. And it's very important to understand too that a virtual assistant is fine to do those calls, because again, most of the people aren't going to answer. Now, the people that do answer, it's totally fine for the virtual assistant to just be checking in and saying, making sure you got the email and the text. Don't worry about thinking I have to train this virtual assistant to know everything about my business in order to let them on the phone with my customers. That's not necessarily the case.